Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. Happy Friday, it's March 14th. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. Coming up, the Trump administration has big plans to change how it manages education in the country. So what does the president think of student loan debt and forgiveness?
He doesn't believe the federal government has a place to put folks out of their debt on this issue.
We'll explore how student loan debt is challenging one borrower in the Central Valley who also has questions about what comes next. But first, these news headlines. A hearing has been scheduled in a court case involving a U.S. Border Patrol operation that resulted in the arrests of at least 80 people in Kern County earlier this year. KVPR's Joshua Yeager reports.
Civil rights attorneys are seeking a court order in the case. If approved, the injunction would require immigration authorities to show probable cause before stopping or detaining anyone. Attorneys say this is necessary to protect residents' rights and to bring more transparency to Border Patrol actions. Franco Musio is an attorney with one of the firms who filed the lawsuit. He says that transparency is already required for law enforcement agencies arresting U.S. citizens.
Over and over and over again, we saw Border Patrol hundreds of miles from the border making these sort of stops with no reasonable suspicion as to the status of the people that they stopped.
He says many of those deported had lived in the valley for decades without criminal records. A hearing is scheduled for next month. For KVPR News, I'm Joshua Yeager in Bakersfield.
State employees rallied this week against Governor Gavin Newsom's new executive order requiring them to return to the office 4 days per week starting in July. The governor said in a statement last week he expects the order will help increase productivity and accountability in state government. Last year, he mandated that state employees work from the office at least 2 days per week. Yoon Hai Harper is on the board of the California Association of State Attorneys and Administrative Law Judges, or CASE, one of 4 unions at the protest. She's also been an attorney with the state for 18 years.
I actually think productivity goes up because there's more hours in the day. And at the end of the day, this saves taxpayers money and state workers are more efficient from home.
CASE was joined by the Service Employees International Union Local 1000, the California Association of Professional Scientists, and Professional Engineers in California government. The Kern County government is staring down a $9 million deficit. That's according to a budget presentation in this week's Board of Supervisors meeting. Officials are blaming a steeper decline in sales tax revenue than expected. Board Chair Leticia Perez says the state's move to ban oil and gas drilling by 2045 will disproportionately impact Kern County.
The state of California is shutting us down. They don't like oil. They have good reasons to have their opinions, I'm sure, and I'm not interested in that debate. But the reality is 33% of our discretionary revenue used to be from oil and gas. Next year, it'll be 9%.
County officials say they're looking at one-time cutbacks in various departments to balance the budget, but they say bigger cuts will be needed in the future as the county's deficit is projected to grow.
If public radio didn't already exist, we'd need to invent it. Do you really trust a billionaire to deliver your news? What about a hedge fund? Or AI with its hallucinations? Public radio is great because the listener comes first, not profit. Help keep the freely accessible information on KVPR, free with your donation today. Become a monthly member at kvpr.org/donate. And thanks.
And now to our main story. President Donald Trump has vowed to eliminate the Department of Education. Just this week, the department was ordered to cut its staff by nearly half. These changes are also poised to have an effect on federal student loan programs. So what exactly could all this mean for people paying off their loans? KVPR's Rachel Livenall drove out to the Sierra foothills to talk to one student loan borrower who's wondering what lies ahead.
From the outside, it may look like Alan Rossetto is living the American dream. He and his wife own a picturesque home in Cathy's Valley with floor-to-ceiling windows in the Sierra foothills.
We got it right before prices boomed.
They have a 3- and a 5-year-old. Even a makeshift farm with goats, chickens, and a rescued pig.
What's up, Rosie? Yeah. Kids like them, they're cute. We like them, they're cute.
But the dream stops at a number hanging over his head that isn't so cute. How much student loan debt do you have?
I think last I looked it was $106,000.
$106,000 in student loan debt. Rossetto got his undergraduate degree in wildlife biology 20 years ago, then a master's in environmental law. Now he's working for a state agency.
I just figured once I got out of college, I'd start paying the tuition as I went.
He did. And then 2 years ago, Rossetto enrolled in a program that cut his monthly payments in half. It also could have forgiven some of the loan. It's called the SAVE Plan. It was created by President Biden. But a Trump-appointed judge recently ruled the program was unconstitutional. Now, Rossetto and 8 million other borrowers don't know how much they'll be paying each month.
Just the unknowing is just really uneasy, and, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Online applications for the SAVE Plan quietly disappeared, along with applications for 3 other repayment programs. The remaining repayment plans are likely to cost more and provide no forgiveness. It's confusing. And it's different than what Trump did last time he was in office.
Inaction was his way of action. So more than anything, it was status quo and just moving things along.
That's Ronnie Lau. He's the head of government relations for the labor union, the National Education Association. Lau says during his most recent campaign, Trump criticized loan forgiveness.
He doesn't believe the federal government has a place to put folks out of their debt on this issue.
This may especially affect borrowers in the Valley. Here, the percentage of residents with student loans is around the state average, about 12%, but salaries are far lower than the state median. Charlie Eaton is a sociology professor at UC Merced.
We don't have jobs that are as high income as in other places. And so people might be taking on loans without a guarantee that they're going to make enough money to pay those loans back.
Eaton says one program likely won't go away, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Plan. It forgives your loans after you've worked for a government agency or nonprofit for a certain period of time.
That is a program that was established by Congress, so it can't necessarily be just eliminated by executive action by President Trump.
Rossetto is enrolled in the Public Service Plan too, and he's hoping it's his saving grace.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
In Cathy's Valley, the sun is going down and the rain patters on Rosetto's big windows. The family stays in for a game of hide and seek. The thing is, Rossetto has an easier time finding his kids than finding out what's next for his loans.
I'm going to be 60 years old and I'm still going to have a student loan that's $100,000. It's the same amount that when I started, pretty much.
Right now, he's hiding, but the debt will find him one way or another. For KVPR News, I'm Rachel Livinall.
And Rachel joins me now to discuss her reporting a little further. Hey, Rachel.
Hey, Liz.
First, we wanted to mention that even our producer, Jonathan Linden's being impacted by this, and I'm sure many of our listeners too, so thank you for looking into this, Rachel. But first, I was curious, as you mentioned in your story, Alan Rossetto is in a lot of debt, over $100,000. Do we have any data that shows just how many other people are in the same boat as Alan and are being impacted by student loan debt in the six figures?
No, I wasn't able to find that data, but I do have data on median student loan debt for folks in the Valley and also in the state. So in California, the median student loan debt is around $19,000. Not too crazy like Alan, but that's a bit more than Valley counties too. For example, Fresno's median student loan debt is about $14,000 per borrower, But one thing to remember is incomes in the valley are lower. So in 2022, the Fresno median income was about $70,000, while the state's was $92,000. So this could make it harder to pay back that debt, even if it's not as much as Allen has.
Sure. And if people were on the SAVE plan, they still don't have a good idea of what things look like in terms of what they'll have to start paying, right?
No, they really don't. I mean, as we know, things are changing very quickly in the Trump administration. As of right now, borrowers on the SAVE plan are still stuck in forbearance. That means their payments are still paused and there's no interest being collected on their loans. If they were able to get out of forbearance, their only options right now would be a fixed loan repayment program. So basically, it's like a monthly payment that allows you to pay off your loan in 10 or 25 years. Depending on how much you owe. But these are expected to cost more because they don't care about your income or your family size, and they don't offer any debt cancellation or forgiveness.
So since returning to office in January, has Trump and his team indicated at all about how they plan to approach student loans moving forward? I know just this week you mentioned the Department of Education laid off half of its staff, and they're the ones overseeing federal student loans.
Yeah, so Trump just said he would cut half of the department's staff. I mean, that includes the federal student loan department. Trump hasn't said anything specific since coming into office on student loans, but he does plan to eliminate the education department altogether, which would throw federal student loans into a completely different area of government. I've heard talks of like the Department of Treasury or something if that were to happen. Trump also did sign an executive order last week that modified the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. As I said in the feature, this is a program that forgives loans after 10 years for those who work in service jobs like teaching or firefighting. His order, though, will mainly impact people who work in nonprofits that deal with immigration or foreign terrorist groups, and it's expected that it'll bring on more lawsuits.
KVPR reporter Rachel Livenall, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Liz.
And that's today's show. If you like what you hear on the podcast, support Central Valley Daily by leaving a 5-star rating in your podcast app. We appreciate your support. Today's episode was produced by Jonathan Linden and KVPR with support from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. Find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
Each morning, it's a new opportunity, a chance to start fresh. Up First from NPR makes each morning an opportunity to learn and to understand. Choose to join the world every morning with Up First, a podcast that hands you everything going on across the globe and down the street, all in 15 minutes or less. Start your day informed and anew with Up First by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts.